I've been using this handheld for the past 5 days and I continue to be surprised by what it can do. This is of course the Miyoo Mini, an ultra portable retro handheld device that can play 8-bit, 16-bit and even PS1 games. In this video, the first of 3 videos on the Miyoo Mini, I'll be doing an unboxing and first impressions of the handheld and talk about how it feels to play such a small device. I'll also be going over the stock firmware and also play a few games on the system. In the next video, I'll be covering a custom firmware called Onion OS, which will offer theme support, more emulator support, and even performance improvements. In the final video, I'll be pushing the system to its limits and playing a wide range of PlayStation 1 games, so make sure to subscribe to catch all of those videos. Let's do an unboxing first, and obviously I've already taken it out of the box and used it this week, so I just want to show you what it comes with. There's some instructions here, a 32GB SD card which has the stock OS on it and a whole ton of ROMs, a USB-C cable and a micro SD card reader. One reason they give you that is because apparently the USB-C port is just for charging only and there's no data transmission. Here's the device and it's basically the size of a pack of playing cards. So these are the specs of the device. The CPU is a Sigma Star SSD 202D, which is a Cortex A7 dual-core chip running at 1.2 GHz. There's 128 MB of DDR3 RAM. Now apparently there's no GPU for 3D acceleration, so this isn't going to run PSP or Nintendo 64. And PS1 is really the limit here. There's no internal storage either, so everything will run off a micro SD card. The device comes with a 32GB card and it's a good idea to make a backup as the device needs this card to run. There's a 2.8-inch IPS display here, and this is one of the best aspects of the handheld, blending a retro-inspired Gameboy design with an almost bezel-less display. The screen resolution is 640 by 480, so it's a nice 4:3 aspect ratio that really suits retro games from that era. There's also a 1900 mAh battery, and I've been able to game on this for 4 to 5 hour periods without draining the battery completely. All this for $56 on the Miyoo official AliExpress store, and that price I was comfortable making a blind purchase for this one just based on the specs alone. And speaking of AliExpress, if you want to help the channel out, I have an affiliate link below in the description for the Miyoo Mini. Let's talk about the build quality, and I was really impressed by this. The plastic used is as good as can be expected for a $50 device. The D-pad and face buttons feel really good, and I love the high gloss on the buttons themselves. The Mini's shoulder buttons are as well designed as they could be for a Game Boy-like handheld. There's a small circular button under the screen that acts as a useful menu button. Of course, the best part of the handheld is, as I've mentioned, the screen, which is a near bezel-less display. The fit and finish of this is better than handhelds with much higher price tags. In terms of other buttons and ports, we have a power button on the top. On the left we have a volume dial, there's nothing on the right hand side, and on the bottom is a 3.5mm headphone jack, micro SD card slot, and a USB-C port, which I believe is for charging only. Under the back panel there's a removable battery. Obviously, one of the main features of this handheld is its size. In fact, I'd almost go as far to say it's more of a novelty handheld than a daily driver handheld. And that's fine given that is the way it was designed. After using it for the last 5 days, I've grown a little used to its size, but it is still really small, and people should really consider the size of it before making a purchase, because it may be too uncomfortable. If you're not sure, try holding a pack of cards and see what you think. As you can see here, I need to wrap my hands around the back just to play this thing, and even my 6-year-old whose hands are half my size is still too big for this handheld. In fact, it's probably about right for a 7-month-old baby. Again, this isn't a criticism, this is just letting you guys know what you're in for. So here are some handhelds that you may be familiar with, and you can really see just how small the Miyoo Mini is, especially when you put them side by side. Even though being very small means sacrificing some comfort, it has other advantages. For example, I took it on a road trip this week and it felt amazing having such a small gaming device that feels almost weightless. And while I have an Anbernic RG351P and a PowerKitty V90, the size and portability of the Miyoo Mini is on a whole new level. It's time to take a look at the stock firmware. It's a really simple but elegant front end, and it has everything the casual gamer needs to start playing games right away. I've used systems in the past where the manufacturer's OS has been a bit of a hack job, but everything seems to work smoothly here. In my opinion, if you're a casual gamer and just care about playing games, you can just keep it on the stock firmware. In the main menu, the two main options here seem to be Game and RetroArch. In Game, you have standalone emulators and you select the system you want to play. Then select the game and you're good to go. On my Miyoo Mini, I moved all the games that weren't my favorites to a subfolder called Other, so I didn't have to scroll through hundreds and hundreds of games. You can do this easily by editing the folders on the micro SD card in Windows Explorer. Using the game option from the main menu to play games is fine, but there are some fairly limited game options in here. One of the most important ones for me was to be able to map the controls, and it's not here. Luckily for us, RetroArch is also included and we can edit controls there. By default, none of the ROMs show up in RetroArch though, so we need to edit the config files to point the directory at the ROMs. This is pretty easy to do. Just go to the R app folder, open the config file for the emulator you're interested in, and then write the correct directory. Many of these are pointing to R ROMs, so just point it to ROMs instead. Once you've done that, make sure to refresh the ROMs list by pressing the menu button on the handheld. Now you have way more options, which is super impressive for this little handheld. This is really useful for systems like GBA, where you can use the face buttons here as L and R buttons, so you don't have to reach for the actual shoulder buttons. Now, one caveat I found for GBA games is that they play full screen at 4:3 aspect ratio in RetroArch, and there doesn't seem to be a way to fix this on stock OS. This could possibly be fixed in future versions of firmware released by Miyoo. The weird thing is, if you use the standalone emulator, they do play in 3:2 aspect ratio, so you could do that if you want, but there's no way to map the controls. Aside from Game and RetroArch, there's also an app option which contains some apps from the developer, and a settings option as well, where there are some fairly limited options like adjusting the brightness or reducing the volume of the menu music, or turning hibernation of the device off. Speaking of the menu music, the mono audio speaker isn't that great. It gets loud, but it's not that clear, so it's better at around 50 to 70% volume. I'm not really expecting too much here, given the size of the handheld and the price. Most of the time I just prefer to listen with headphones. There were a few times the sound leaked out of the speakers even with the headphones plugged in. In terms of game performance, we'll save most of this discussion for the next video after installing Onion OS, but I did want to try a few games so we can come back and compare the performance later. Everything works really well all the way up to PS1. Just a quick reminder that I'll post longer gameplay videos on the GymRPG2 channel, so make sure to go and check that channel out. Here's Super Mario Bros. On the NES, and it really is the perfect way to play this game. Another great game to play here is Tetris on the Gameboy. Here's Advance Wars on the GBA, and playing turn-based games is great on such a small device. There's so many RPGs on here, and the original screen size of the GBA was 2.9 inches, so this makes for a really similar experience. All the Mega Drive games play great on this handheld, as it only uses the face buttons. Here's Streets of Rage 2, and the experience really shines in this handheld. SNES games work fine too. There are apparently some difficult games that don't emulate as well that require the Super FX chip, but they're games that are also difficult on much stronger hardware. You do need to use the shoulder buttons here, so it does start to feel a little cramped when playing SNES. Neo Geo games run pretty well generally speaking, but a few of them did have issues like Fatal Fury 2, which turns up with an error screen, and King of Fighters 2000, which doesn't even load after waiting 5 minutes. I'm not sure whether it's a ROM, emulator or hardware issue, but we'll test them again when on custom firmware. Games like King of Fighters 99 and 2003 look like they're not running, but they just take a long time to load in and eventually load after a minute or two.
Round 1. Fight.
I was most impressed by the fact that the system runs PS1 games really well. Now, I've heard that they run even better on Onion OS, so I'm really looking forward to trying that out, but even on stock OS, many games run well. Here's Tekken 3, which is a ROM included on the microSD card, and it runs really well. Gran Turismo 2 is supposedly a little slow, but I think it's pretty playable here anyways, so I'll compare this when I install Onion OS. Final Fantasy VII is very slow during battles, so I'm interested to see how this one compares as well. Metal Gear Solid runs really great on the stock firmware. I didn't get too far into it, but on custom firmware I'll play a little bit more of it. Overall, I was really impressed with the Miyoo Mini. If you're looking for a mini handheld, I think this is pretty much a no-brainer. At the cost of a Mario or Zelda limited edition portable, you can get a handheld that plays a wide range of games. The stock firmware is pretty good. It's not perfect, but overall I think it's good enough for casual play, and hopefully custom firmware will fix those issues. The only question I have for you is that this is a really small device, so it may not be for everyone, but I think at this price, I don't think it's that risky. Okay, so that's going to be it for this one. In the next video, I'm going to cover a custom firmware called Onion OS, so make sure to subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next one.